Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the Krieger Cast. I'm your host, Patrick Krieger, and today is just another update from the bunker, as it were. Today was a ton of work. I had to, well, I didn't have to, but my TV is down, and since I'm out in the hinterland, it's a little hard for me to use the internet and whatnot. Yes, I do have access to the internet, as evidenced by the fact that these are being uploaded, but I have data caps and I have slow speed issues. Supposedly my download speed is somewhere around 8 megabits per second, but I don't really see that. I can't stream anything. If I'm downloading, a 144p YouTube video using YouTube Red, it takes forever. So anyway, I do take advantage of TV, and I take advantage of radio, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk with you about today. I wanted to talk with you about a great little radio program that is a fantastic thing to listen to if you find yourself needing a little something that's somewhat engaging, but not the most. I really don't want to say fascinating because sometimes it is, but you know what I mean. Good background stuff. The man known as the Report of the Week, the famous internet food reviewer, does a podcast radio broadcast called Voice of the Report of the Week. I'll put a link in the description down below. I'm not so sure what he's been talking about recently. I have a few of his podcasts downloaded, but I tried to tune in on the shortwave up here. He broadcasts this in real old-fashioned shortwave. Yes, that still exists. And yes, I do have a shortwave radio, and while I'm up here, I love to try to catch his program on the air, as it were, literally on the airwaves. And he was broadcasting on, I believe, 6,115 kilohertz, which is a amplitude modulated frequency, AM radio, but in the higher band, so like your standard AM radio won't have it. But anyway, so I go out and I try to listen to his broadcast the other day, and no such luck. So I would encourage you, however, to watch some of his videos. If you enjoy this format, you'll definitely enjoy his format. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of aping it a bit, but I think it's a good format, so I wanted to do it. Anyway, as for my adventures today, were many. My TV is down, as I stated earlier, and I was kind of surprised when the TV company said they'd send a repairman out. I'm like, their TV repairman still working in this chaos that we're currently going through? And not only that, but they would send someone out to me? I'm so far from the nearest town. Like, it's a pain in the butt for anyone to get here. And not to mention, there's snow and ice and sleet and whatnot on the ground. Not to mention, my car is still in the road. So it's not really like he can even get past my car. But I might have told you, I might not have told you, that a couple days ago when I called the TV people, they said, "Oh, don't worry, our TV guys are tough. They'll hike out to you. It's fine. If you can get there, they can get there." And I'm like, okay, sure. And then I wake up this morning to an email from my neighbors that helped me get up to my property. And they say to me, like, "Hey, bud, is your car still stuck in the road? If so, we'll hope you get it out." And I said, "Yeah, it is still stuck in the road. But, I'm just going to let it thaw out. I have no place to be. And the weather's real nice the last few days, and so the snow's melting fast." And I say, "Okay, sounds good. Let us know if you get it free." But I was waiting for a call from the TV repairman. And because the TV repairman told me he would give me a call before he came up. And I was expecting to tell him, like, "Hey, man, you're in for a hike today." Anyway, so a few hours go by, no word from the TV repairman, no word from my friends. So I decided, you know what? It's quarantine, as it were, is not bad, for me at least. I spend most of my time on my own, and I enjoy that. But there are certain niceties in life that I do not have. Fresh meat, bread, milk, these sorts of things. I have plenty of food. I'm not going to starve, but I would like these things to make things nicer. So I thought, it's completely irresponsible of me to go grocery shopping, having just come from Southern California and coming to this small mountain community. So I'm not going to go to the grocery store. But you know what? A few hours away is a Walmart. I can drive to that Walmart and have them do curbside pickup and minimize my exposure with the public and get those niceties that will make the next week or two more bearable. So I went online, and sure enough, my local Walmart does in fact have curbside pickup, and I placed an order. And I was able to get a lot of things. But it's really interesting. Some of the stuff I ordered, they ended up not having by the time I placed the order. Like, I put it in my basket and I had it, but by the time I placed the order, their, I guess, allotments or whatever were already sold out. And so they offered suggestions, and some of the suggestions were hilarious. I think my favorite one was, oh, you wanted 5 chicken breasts. Okay. How about 5 pounds of chicken wings instead? Does that make you happy? The answer is not really. But now I'm curious. I continued with the order and I said, yeah, sure, but send me those chicken wings. I guess I get to learn how to cook chicken wings. I got my smoker all set up and I got some interesting rubs. So, why not smoke some chicken wings? So that was one of them. There were a few other weird little oddities, like they're like, oh, we're out of this yogurt. What about this yogurt? Or I was like, one of my favorite things to have is a bowl of rice with a properly grilled ribeye steak, thin cut ribeye steak, so that you can kind of slice it up and put it in the rice there and let the juices and the butter and the salt mix into the rice. And so I ordered some thin cut ribeyes. The cheap choice cuts, just whatever they had. And they're like, hey man, we don't got that, but we do have these nice T-bones, inch thick. Would that make you happy? The answer is yes. So I ordered those T-bones, and they did actually have like half-inch cut ribeye. And so I ordered those as well. They had eggs, which I was kind of surprised by. I was both surprised by the fact that eggs are selling out and that they had eggs. And the other thing that I was surprised by is they had plenty of great value whole milk. And I will admit this, great value is in fact a great value. I was able to receive, hopefully, let's knock on wood here, that I'll be able to get it. I was able to receive 3 gallons of whole milk, great value whole milk, for like $5. That's nuts. Considering that like your cheapest garden variety milk in California is like $5 a gallon, and I'm used to paying for my hoity-toity grass-fed, pasture-raised, organic whole milk. I'm used to paying like $5 or $6 a half gallon. So to get 3 gallons for $5 was just nuts to me. So I placed the order for that, and it's kind of funny, like you go like, oh my gosh, 3 gallons of milk. Yeah, I consume a lot of milk. I consume a lot of milk. I've been rationing my milk because of what's going on, wanting to limit store trips and so on and so forth. And I go through like a half a gallon every 2 days on my own. So I go through a lot of milk, and I just find it funny that like most people say like, oh, milk's kind of disgusting, whatever, and I get that. But now I'm seeing like milk run out, and I thought that would be the one thing where I really had my corner on was milk, because I didn't think that would be running out. And I didn't think the hoity-toity milk would run out first. And that is actually the case here. The $5 a half gallon milk is gone. from the stores, at least according to the online application. But the cheap, great value milk is available. So, you know, it is what it is. Another thing I noticed that I thought was kind of funny is cheese loaves were not sold out. One, I was unaware that's what you called that. I always called it a cheese log or a brick of cheese, but apparently a 2-pound loaf of cheese is called a loaf of cheese. And Tillamook sells these vacuum-packed, sharp cheddar. Sometimes you can, if you're really lucky, you can get the 3-year-old white aged cheddar cheese loaves. And they're, like I said, they're vacuum packed, and so they last like 3 or 4 years. I've never had one go bad on me unless I've opened it, because you just throw them in the refrigerator and they're good for like 5 years. So I ordered one of those. I felt pretty lucky to get that, and I think I'll have enough to get me through these next week or so. I'll place another order next week, and we'll see how it goes. I bet you that the supply lines will hopefully, at least I'm hoping myself, the supply lines will even out in about 2 weeks. So anyway, I placed that order with Wally World, and I get an email saying, "We're so sorry, Patrick, but your order has been canceled." Okay. What do I do now? And they had a little number that said, call here and we'll help you out. But then I received an email immediately after that saying, "Hey, you're all good. We'll have your order ready for you at the time you requested." And I was like, well, I'm still going to call that number just to make sure. Again, I won't starve, but, this is a huge stress relief knowing that a resupply is coming. When I didn't know for a fact that the resupply was coming, I was already acting as if this is the end of the world. You're going on meager rations starting now. And that's really not necessarily the best way to play this thing. One, this isn't the end of the world. The supply lines will rebound. Two, if it were the end of the world, most of us could survive a couple weeks without food. Three, in a viral pandemic, you do not want to be restricting calories as such. Now, don't go overboard with eating. Don't eat lots of sugar. Don't eat unhealthily. But what I mean by that is that you do really want your body in tip-top shape in case something happens. For example, as I told you yesterday, I'm healing from all this work I've been doing, but I also haven't been eating. So I haven't been healing as well as I should. So take that as you will. But I was really frightened, and again, we come back to that topic of fear, that I would not be able to get my traditional supplies. So I was rationing. I was in this mode. Now that I see that resupply is on the horizon, I'm very much at ease. But another thing happened that put me at ease. My car got unstuck. And that's the story I'm going to tell you now. So, my friend, after I placed this order with Wally World, came up with his 4-wheel drive and, came up to my front door and said, "Hey, let's get your car going. Let's get going." I'm like, okay, I'm still waiting on the call from this TV repairman. I don't want to really leave my house. But, he's here now. Got to take advantage of this situation. This guy's kind enough to come out, into the cold and the damp and, risk interacting with, us dirty Southern Californians. And, that's something that's got to be really respected. So he says, "Can you hand me the keys and, let's go give this a whirl." So he tries it and yeah, sure enough, the car's stuck. So we dig it out a little bit, and sure enough, the car's stuck. And then he takes this 4-wheel drive thing, and they tow it out of the snow. At the same time, just by happenstance, another neighbor of mine happened to have a tractor with a snowplow. And I think there's a country song about that, have friends that or be friends with those that have tractors, something like that. I've got friends with tractors, something like that. Anyway, so, I have this neighbor with this tractor with a snowplow on it, one of those big whirly-gigs. I'm going to actually try something here for a moment and roll some footage. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. He had this thing to clear the road, and so he plowed my road. But it turned out he wasn't there to plow me out. He was out to plow someone else out. Worryingly, more people are coming from the hinterlands, all to come to this wooded area. People think it's the end of the world and it's time to get to their, bug out locations, as it were. And I just find that fascinating. Because this isn't necessarily it's not like civil unrest or anything. It's just it is a virus. Maybe you don't want to be near the cities, but I know these people, and I'm just curious as to why they don't want to be near proper medical facilities and all that. But anyway, neither here nor there. Point is, he wasn't there to plow out my road. He was out there to plow out someone else's road, and mine happened to be in the way, so he plowed mine as well. And appreciative. My four-wheel drive was able to make it up the hill just fine, and I was able to get to my house and finally unload the last of my gear. Thus ends the saga of my stuck car. However, I now still had that issue with Wally World. So I call Wally World and say, hey, what's up with this? I got this thing saying that my order was canceled, but I also got this thing saying my order was, on. And they say, hey, let's call the store. And they said, hey, you're not allowed to place an order for anything other than tomorrow. So you can't place an order for 2 days from now, and you can't place an order for today, only tomorrow. It says here that you placed it last week. And I'm like, no, I placed it just a couple hours ago. And it says, all right. And so they call the store talks it over. They have all the stuff that I wanted or have it planned to come in. And the Walmart representative took care of it. She was really kind and scheduled me for the same appointment I was intending. So, don't know what was up with that. Weird glitch in the system. I'm sure tons of people are now using their shop at home system, which I do have to say, by the way, if you're going to do the Walmart shop at home, use the Walmart shop at home grocery app. Using the website isn't as friendly as using the application. I had an issue with it both on my phone and on my computers, but when I used the application, the little, grocery app, it worked just fine. So we'll see tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow if I can get down my hill without dying. We'll also see tomorrow if I can get my groceries. Ooh, adventures are in store for us, dear listeners. Anyway, I'm sure you're going through as similar chaos, but I just find my problems kind of funny. Speaking of funny problems, the TV repairman shows up. He did in fact call, and he said, hey, I'm on my way. I'm like, great, He actually called in the middle of the Walmart while the Walmart lady had me on hold. And kind of a cool thing, when the Walmart application, or when I had to hang up on the Walmart lady in order to pick up the call from the TV repairman, figuring I can call back and, give a case number. But when I hung up from the TV repairman, Walmart called me back, and it was straight to the Muzak. So I thought that was actually really clever and really neat. It was like, they planned for people to make mistakes, accidentally hang up or whatever. Really neat. Really cool system you got there, Walmart. Anyway, so TV repairman shows up, and I'm nervous as hell. I know my neighbors, and I know my neighbors don't go into town much, so I wasn't that worried about my neighbors. I was worried about this guy going door to door and all that jazz. But I tell him, like, hey man, fair warning, I just came from Southern California. I've been locked in my house more or less since mid-February. I've been, practicing social distancing, as they say, since January. But, fair warning, I've been to Southern California. And he says to me, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just keep your distance and I'll keep mine. He was incredibly respectful, and he was incredibly aware of what's going on and knew about, all the best practices to, keep people safe and all that jazz. And he did a great job. Turned out the previous people that installed my satellite dish had just put a pole in the ground. No cement, no nothing. Just pole, ground, dirt. Didn't even tighten the satellite dish onto the pole. So needless to say, the antenna got out of whack, and that was causing the issue with my TV. He fixed it, and he did a really good job. It was actually really handy. I had this like sled that a satellite dish mounts onto for transportation or whatever, and the people who installed my thing said, "Well, we're just gonna throw this thing out. Do you want it?" Turns out, not a transportation thing. Turns out, it's actually for like temporary locations. Like if you were, say, throwing a music festival or whatever, and you needed to provide internet, it's just so you don't have to dig into the ground. Temporary, sled to put up an antenna. And he's like, well, I can just mount it to this thing, So he mounted it to the sled and arranged the satellite, and I got all my TV working. So those of you who know me know I'm back to watching Impractical Jokers. It's kind of one of the things I do up here. It's good background stuff. But anyway, so the guy had to come into my house, which also made me really nervous. But then after he left, I wiped everything down. I sanitized as much of the surfaces as possible I could. While the man was here, I was running my air purifiers on its highest setting, and I did all the precautions I could. He had to work in my bedroom, so I covered my bed with a towel, like a big blanket, and then threw the blanket in the wash, and I'm going to wash it twice. I don't know if any of this stuff helps, but it makes me feel a little bit better. Having a stranger in your house during these trying times is not the sort of thing you want to do. So anyway, I got my car up, got my TV fixed, and all that. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you guys about this kind of like porridge I've been making that I think you guys will want to know the recipe for and all that. So, and we'll also update you on what happened in town. So why don't you guys tell me how you have been dealing with the grocery crisis? I'm hearing some people say, that they don't even have food. I'm hearing some people say, I've never eaten white eggs in my life or brown eggs in my life, and I don't like that they only have the other type of egg. A lot of people are worried that they're running out of garlic. Not that they're actually running out of garlic, but that individual stores are. So tell me what's going on with you guys as it comes to the eatery conditions. Are you guys rationing? Are you guys like pigging out? Did you guys prep ahead? Did you guys prep long term? Like, I know everything I was preparing is designed to. When I was prepping, this wasn't a surefire thing. Like we didn't know for a fact that the virus was coming. So I bought stuff that would last me, a decade. Lots of dried goods, which I, prefer not to tap into unless I have to. So let me know if you were that type of person, or if you were the type of person that, went out there and I don't like the term panic buying. I do have to say, these people who go out there and they buy 2 or 3 weeks worth of food, it's because they've seen things. They understand that, they may not be able to leave their house for a month, and they're afraid. And they may be right, in fact, that they might not be able to leave their house for a month or whatever. So I really hate the term panic buying, but, so maybe you were one of those last minute shoppers and got, Hot Pockets and what have you, and are living the high life of the Corona apocalypse, as some people are calling it. Anyway, let me know what's going on with you in the comments down below. Until next time, dear listener, see you out there.